Hey, brothers and sisters, this is Bishop Tapp again, part number 9 on self-reliance. Today, I really want to dig into the 7 baby steps. I've mentioned them a couple times before, but I really want to talk about why I think these are some of the best ways to help you get self-reliant. Um, and we've been talking about the financial stewardship success map. This is the principles that the church outlines. Again, we talked about the foundation, how you need to work in a budget, and then you got to make sure you're paying your tithes and offerings. And we've even talked a little bit about insurance. But I want to stop and deviate from that a little bit. Not really deviating; it's following the exact same principles. But I struggle when I don't have a step-by-step, okay, what do I do next with this information? And the 7 baby steps really helped give me that step-by-step of, okay, here's your next goal, here's what you do next, sink your teeth into it. There's a defined beginning and end. So again, let's review those 7 baby steps. The first is create a starter emergency fund. The second is pay off your debt. The third is have a full 3 to 6 month emergency fund. The fourth is invest 15% of your income. The fifth is save for kids' college. The sixth is pay off your home. And the seventh is build wealth and give. So let's really focus in on baby step 1 today. Save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. This is key to really setting yourself up. There was a statistic that talked about how most Americans, I believe it was like 47%, but it was less than 50. Most Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency if it comes up. They have to go put it on the credit card because they just don't have cash on hand. And ultimately, the goal is to eventually have 3 to 6 months of cash saved up, so that if something goes wrong, if you lose a job, if there's an accident, anything like that, you can cover your expenses without going into debt. So that takes us back a step, because that's baby step 3, but baby step 1 is you can't get there. You can't save up money until you have debt paid off. And we'll talk about debt next time and why we need to eliminate debt in our lives. A lot of people have varying opinions on debt, but the prophet has counseled us to stay out of debt. And so we'll talk about that. Our goal is to do that as really the first step, and that would be the first baby step, except as you're doing that, if emergencies come up that you don't have cash for, you go deeper into debt. And emergencies always come when they're least convenient. And so we therefore want to set aside $1,000 to cover any small emergencies. So as you're working to pay off debt, you've got that $1,000 sitting there. If an emergency comes up, like let's say your car breaks down and you've got to run into the shop and it eats up $700 or $800 of that $1,000, you pause paying off debt, you go back and you re-up it up to $1,000, and always keep that there so you have cash on hand to cover emergencies, because emergencies always come. So why $1,000? $1,000 covers most emergencies. And so you want to, as quick as you can, save up $1,000, put it in a savings account or put it in an envelope, put it behind glass in a frame, whatever you gotta do. Don't spend that money. It's not money to pay the pizza guy if you forgot to have cash on hand. That's your emergency fund, and it's only to be spent on emergencies as you pay off debt. And so it's really that simple. There's not a whole lot more to go into it. Most people can save up $1,000 emergency fund in 1 to 2 months. It's really not that hard, but if you'll put that away, there's peace that begins to come into your life so that you don't have to worry about the next expense, and you can get through the next emergency without going deeper into debt. Now, some of you may be out of debt and already operate that way, and I highly commend you. You may already be done with baby step 1 and maybe even baby step 2. But if you aren't, if you're in debt and you're struggling, set aside that first $1,000. I want to go back really quickly to a thought, just to kind of tack on to the end of this. I know I grew up in our family situation where we didn't save money ever. In fact, the first time I saved money was 2 or 3 years into me and Maddie's marriage. I had never put aside money in a savings account. If I saved money, it was really short term and I spent it really fast. But and we use the excuse, well, we don't have money to do this. It was last time I talked about Chris Hogan's book, Everyday Millionaires. I just finished that book yesterday, and there was a quote in there from a gal worth $2.1 million. That was her net worth. And it astounded me. She said, I have never made more than $38,000 a year. But yet she's worth $2.1 million. That was amazing to me. And she said, I've never made more than $38,000 a year, but I've always made savings a priority. So she always lived an extremely frugal lifestyle, a lifestyle that most of us would think would be impossible to live on, at least on a long-term basis. But she sacrificed hard so that she could get to where she wants to be. And so I bring that up because saving money is not about how much money you make. If you will always put aside some money, no matter how much money you make, you can begin to walk down the path to get completely self-reliant. That's the ultimate goal. And so if you're making a very small amount of money and you need to get that $1,000 emergency fund built up, go back to that video I talked about I don't know, it was a few weeks ago where we talked about income. There's lots of ways to quickly bring in $1,000. Maybe you have to have a garage sale. Maybe you go on KSL. Maybe you drive for Uber. Whatever you got to do, get that $1,000 saved up really quickly. We'll talk about that kind of intensity in your life as we get into baby step 2 next time. But to begin with, make sure you got that $1,000 emergency fund, and that is your baby step 1. So if you haven't done that, there's your first goal. Thanks. Love ya.